Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So it's tough to catch up post-lunch. I'm sure you all had a sumptuous lunch. Mr. Sudhanshu Mani, former General Manager, Integral Coach Factory, ICF Chennai, Indian Railways. Mr. P. Balaji, Chief Regulatory and Corporate Affairs Officer, Vodafone Idea Limited. It's a pleasure to have you all with us and a very warm welcome in a session with an unusual achiever who has proved that Indian engineers can create world-class machines faster, cheaper, and better than the rest of the world. Mr. Mani, it's our pleasure to have you at AIMA's National Leadership Conclave. And many thanks for agreeing to share your story of Train 18, which is also known as Vande Bharat Express. We also look forward to hearing your views on the correct strategy for India to develop intellectual property and become a genuinely Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you for joining us and a very warm welcome to you. Mr. Balaji, it's a pleasure to have you and many thanks for agreeing to provide your perspective on the subject of the session. You are a telecom industry veteran and you have seen many stages of the hardware service evolution in Indian telecom. We look forward to your remarks towards the end of the session. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Mani, you have become a legend in the country and you are a rare kind of a YouTube and TED talker. And you are a star. In fact, you are a star in the YouTube and TED Talks. You are not only the hero of a great story, you are a very good storyteller as well. What you do is capture the kind of imagination, you trigger passion with a lot of youngsters and whoever sees your video. And that's very, very nice. We require more of monies of the world for India to walk in the journey of innovation. You also hold a strong views on how India can become a global center of innovation and not merely manufacturing. You are not shy of saying that the government must encourage local developers of products and technologies even if it means tilting the playing ground. You have become the voice of Indian talent that wants opportunity to create intellectual property. It may be helpful to remind the audience that Mr. Mani served Indian Railways for about 35 years. He had a dream of making world-class fast trains in India, and he got this chance when he was given the charge of ICF. He led the project to design, engineering and manufacture an indigenous semi-high-speed train. Under his leadership, the Train 18 project was taken from conception to completion in just 18 months, which is half of the time taken by leading global train makers. The first such train he built had only about 20% of imported parts in terms of value. Since then, indigenous supplies have been developed to reduce imports from even that level. Now I am sure it will be negligible or nil. We would definitely get to hear from Mr. Mani on that. The train would have been inducted much earlier than it was had it not been for the Vigilance Department's enthusiasm for finding faults with procurement for the train. Anyway, Mr. Mani came out in flying colors. The government eventually stepped in and now we have the Vande Bharat Express. Moreover, the IPR for the train is entirely with Integral Coach Factory. Mr. Mani not only developed the new train, he transformed the culture of ICF. I think you all will appreciate changing an organization, a government-led one. It's not easy, but unless you change the culture of the kind of organization, I think Mr. Mani led it from the front. During his leadership, ICF's production of coaches averaged to 3,200, which was about a third higher than the earlier annual output. He made ICF a carbon negative organization through a bunch of offset projects. He overcame the usual management challenges in Indian Railways by handling the internal contradictions of the Railway Board, developing closer ties with the industry, reforming the supply chain, and imposing deadlines. Most importantly, he got ICF cadres to give more by improving their working and living conditions. Mr. Mani, you have proved yourself not only as a visionary and an innovator, but you have also proved to be a great leader and communicator. We look forward to learning from you. Here is Mr. Mani making an impact. Thanks.
I need the slider. Oh, okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Extremely thankful to Ms. Rekha Sethi and Mr. Sanjeev Goenka for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about the Train 18 Vande Bharat story today. I cannot be funnier than I already am. I'm not going to lie. I'm not nervous. And I'm quite sure in my allotted time, I should be able to say exactly what I wish to say. I will begin with these wonderful words of the people's president, APJ Abdul Kalam, that dream is not the thing that you see in sleep, but is that thing that doesn't let you sleep. In The Merchant of Venice, Portia says that if to do were as easy as to know what were good to do, chapels had been churches and poor man's cottages princesses' palaces. In the same vein, if to do were as easy as to come to you and speak about it, ... So, I will try to speak only about what I would call proof of the pudding, whatever little I was able to do along with my team members. I come to you as a railwayman for life. Indian Railways in India, love it, hate it, is not an organization you can easily ignore. As for the story, by now it is some kind of an old wine in new bottle, same tannin, same terroir, same body. But perhaps there are some messages for you, some takeaways. So I will begin what I call my Sarkari presentation. Of course, in the allotted 15 to 17 minutes, I possibly cannot go long and winding, which I am little want to do at times. But there is a Q&A, some audience interaction. So I will give you a caveat. Since I am a railwayman for life, I have an inherent right to be derailed. Any attempt to derail me is not going to work. I'll begin with Make in India, which was started by this government around 2014 to make in India a manufacturing hub, a factory of the world. There were some successes. Then came COVID and it was rejigged into Atmanirbharta with the expectations that these lions of Make in India would roar into self-reliance. So we have seen many initiatives, liquidity infusion, collateral-free loans, a lot of things, productivity-linked schemes and so on, which I actually don't understand. I would only like to speak about the spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat, which, to my mind, is more about creating something of your own with pride and ownership, because it is that pride and that ownership which can make you do 110, 120, 125% more than what you are otherwise capable of. We are familiar with transfer of technology, especially in railways. All our trains, all our rolling stock have come through technology transfers where you get some 15, 20, 30 numbers, then PKDs, CKDs, transfer of documents, specifications, protocols, training, visits abroad or rather jaunts abroad and so on. Still you are not able to make it to the standard you imported in spite of passage of decades. And why is that? I've been trying to find this answer all my service life. To my mind, it is because any technology, ladies and gentlemen, is a creation which lives not only in the mind but heart of the creator, and there is no technology to transfer that. Firak Gorakhpuri has said that mere sher aina khane mein teri beshumar adaon ke. I can go poetic about your beauty. मेरे शेर आईना खाने में तेरी बेशुमार अदाओं के, मगर ऐसी भी है कोई अदा जो रहेगी सीना-ए राज में. There is some elegance of your beauty that will remain buried in the recesses of my heart. Nobody is going to get access to that. Unless the gap is too large, you have to challenge yourself to do it your own, create your own with ownership and pride. That brings me to a very basic question. And to do anything, anywhere, for paucity of time, I will not ask you. I'm sure the answers would be these. But from my work, life journey, I would say there is something more than that. And that is, even today, human resources continue to be your most important resources. You are not going anywhere unless your people are with you. As a leader, it doesn't matter how many people report to you. If you deal with human beings, you are a leader. Whether it's clients or suppliers or anyone. And you must love everyone. You must love what you do. You must love your organization, which is not very humanly possible. So as a leader, you have to manufacture it. You have to construct it. You have to contrive to get it. And once it becomes a habit, the dividends it would get you are enormous. एक लफ्ज़ से मोहब्बत का अदना ये फसाना है. This word, love, has this brief story. सिमटे तो दिले आशिक, फैले तो जमाना है. As ChatGPT takes over our life, I am not sure, but as of today, you have to have your human resources with you. A little deviation. I know I'm hard pressed for time yet. I'm writing a book, nothing to do with railways, collating the work of Ghalib and Shakespeare, trying to find similarity or opposites. And sometimes, you know, cultures apart, age apart, you wouldn't really find a similarity so easily. It would take sometimes days finding an equivalent in a sonnet or a play, sometimes 3 days, and you wouldn't find something very appealing. I gave this, what I did in 3 days, I gave the work to ChatGPT, it did it in 3 seconds, better than what I did. So I cannot vouchsafe much for future, but as of now, this rules. For me, it was easy. As you know, the organization I worked for, the scramble for the window seat, as the marvel, the wonder of India passed you by, desolate, crowded, hard work, labor, grind, celebration, mourning, pathos, joy, rivers, mountains, valleys, open fields. So much so that the journey itself became the objective, not the destination. And even today, unless my train came 4 years back, our trains have doors which can be opened as the train moves, and you can look back and look at this snaking train behind you, and it would still give you goosebumps. And a railway station still is a place where the poorest to the richest stand next to each other to catch the same train. In Tempest, Antonio says, travelers never did lie, fools at home condemn them. I dare say if you are not taken in by these fantastical views you see through the window of an Indian Railways train, then perhaps you are a prisoner of your own contradiction and your own confines. But I'm not here to talk to you about this romance. I'm here to talk to you about this. The recall of Indian Railways train for the last 70 years have remained the same. Color has changed. German technology has come. More AC coaches, but the same box type structure what you see on the left. एक जैसे लग रहे हैं सभी चेहरे मुझे, होश की ये इंतहा है या मैं नशे में हूं. Is it supreme consciousness or am I intoxicated that such a large pool of our engineers have not been able to give to the country an aesthetically superior, speedier, modern looking train which I would look as a child in late 60s, early 70s, and wonder when we are going to have a train like this. This is the seed of the story. And the message is very simple. Look, you have to look beyond love because the only thing permanent is change. I got posted in Integral Coach Factory in 2016. As you in railways, you know that, as you know, donkeys and horses all move in the single file. And in August of 2016, this donkey had the chance to be thrown up as a general manager. A general manager in Indian Railways is some kind of an institution, a kind of a job everyone looks up to as someone who can do things. Set up in 50s as a factory to make coaches of current technology, as a dream of Jawaharlal Nehru, not followed up by any vision or action plan by railwaymen like us. So it kept on doing more of the same, much more of the same. Numbers, so much so that it has a Limca book of world records, having turned out the maximum number of coaches from the same factory. In 50s, this gentleman in the center with garland is Chow Enlai, Premier of China, who came to ICF in 1955 and wrote in the visitors book that he would like every Orient to come to ICF and learn how to make coaches. And every Orient should be proud of this factory. And look where we have reached today. After 65 years, we make a beeline to go to China to learn from them in practically every aspect of technology, not only railways. I was invited by IIM Kolkata within days of joining to speak on being a government CEO. And I made this table. I didn't understand what a CEO was. And I was surprised, thanks to empowerment given by this government. The authority and power and the capability to spend money is far greater than the CEO of a large private sector. But there are two ways to look at it. One is, aap sarkari ho, sarkari raho. What's in a name? A rose would smell as sweet or as rotten. Or nearer home, my uncle Ghalib has said, हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत लेकिन दिल के खुश रखने को ख्याल अच्छा है. Or the other way to look at it is as a huge canvas given to you with variegated palette of colors for you to paint it in hues and shades you want. And largely no questions asked. I was trying to be a votary of the second thought. I will not spend too much time here. These pictures only show how much a feudal organization like Indian Railways can reap benefits simply by demolishing the boundaries, the hierarchical propriety, straight jackets of protocol. On left you see a family tree where the janitor used to keep his brooms and buckets. I threw that out. That's a tree with 12,000 faces, nobody bigger or smaller. It became a project to find your own mug, including for me. But sense of belongingness it gave to everyone in Integral Coach Factory was tremendous. What you see on the right top, I was told not to interfere with production. A 10,000 crore unit, I spent 0.5% is mine. Apart from large sanctions of 500 crores and above, I'm going to spend that money to improve facilities in community, in factory and so on. He said, do that, don't interfere with production. So I would aimlessly move around and meet people and ask only one question, which I was asked never to ask. And the question was simple, any problem? I was told you will be flooded with answers which you wouldn't be able to solve. 99.5% of the time the answer was, no problem, sir. So these people had heard of somebody called GM because GMs come to the factory for a ceremony. They don't even know the name, let alone the face of the GM. But it was a pleasure just going to them. कालिक वालिक लगी होती थी उनके और जाके उनके गले मिल लो. आपको याद होगा एक बार पार्लियामेंट में माननीय राहुल गांधी जी मोदी जी के गले लग गए थे जाके. याद है आप लोग? उस समय मोदी जी ने कहा था कि आज पता चला कि गले लगने और गले पड़ने में क्या फर्क होता है. मैं जाके गले पड़ जाता था इनके. एक और चीज है, एक छोटी, बिफोर आई मूव अहेड. Politicians are fine. On public money, they have to glorify themselves, but bureaucrats. कोई काम कहीं पे हुआ, ले जाके एक प्लाक लगाया, अपना नाम लिख दिया. बड़े साहब ने लिखा तो कई सारे छोटे साहब ने भी लिख दिया. In a misplaced notion that it will immortalize them. I said, the day I joined, within 2-3 days, I asked the chief engineer, please get all the plaques since 1955 counted. Those with bureaucrats, chairman railway board, secretary this, secretary that, member railway board, general manager, this and that. उसे समझा शायद ये आदमी आया इनको चमकने को बोलेगा, इनको चमकाने को. Because oftentimes, you know, you can see it is not taken care of. A dog goes and does its thing on it. But next day he comes to me, sir, there are as many as 165 such plaques. I said, okay, have you not, I hope you have counted each one of them. He said, yes. So I said, you have time till evening. Put all your men, extract these and throw them in the dust so everyone can see that's where they belong. From now on, every single facility except large ones which would be done by luminaries, no politician, no bureaucrat. अगर कल्चरल है तो भरतनाट्यम डांसर कोई आएंगी, स्पोर्ट्स का है तो कोई बड़ा स्पोर्ट्समैन. अदरवाइज द सीनियर मोस्ट मेंबर ऑफ स्टाफ ऑफ दैट एरिया who is about to retire in some years or some months, he will come and do the honor. His name would be there in plaque and nobody else's. And he is the one who would come with his family. His son, his daughter, his spouse, his parents stand next to it with tears in his eyes and take back with him a memory of a place he gave his blood, sweat and tears to. A lot of money was spent, ladies and gentlemen, in 2.5 years, 2 years and 5 months that I was. 500 such inaugurations other than the big ones with luminaries. And if one man has influence over 10, half the factory won over by this simple measure without having to do anything special. I must bring this. Britishers have taught us to work, or rather designed a system for the government to work with mistrust. Whatever be your position, be the highest, you are still not trusted, in spite of the gravity and the sheer magnitude of your position. And that's why so many watchdogs, so many rules, procedures, and so on. And what has it given us? Has it freed us of corruption? Not at all. Corruption has gone up. It's time, because we practiced it. For example, this is a broken story, so I would just tell it to you right now. For procurement of anything to do with the train, the last word is the chief design engineer, electrical and mechanical, no questions asked, no finance, no stores, no general manager. Your decision, that's final. Trust has to be given a chance for India to do things, because mistrust has not taken us anywhere. Through all these simple measures, we were able to, as something was said in my introduction, production went up 2.5 times. The number of men required per coach manufacturer came down from 8, 9 to as low as 2.5. Because we should never ask for more men, because more men is always more trouble, especially in government. There is the square root rule, you know, that where 10% of the people do 50% of the work. Not quite so much, but 20-25% of the people do most of the work. They have to be banked upon, and asking for more men is always more trouble. I want to leave this picture with you because related to human resource, there's so many things, but there is a shortage of time. But what is important is women in workforce, you hear cliches. In government, if there is any instance of sexual harassment or gender-based discrimination, there is a long rigmarole of inquiry, deposing this and that. It's not always that something comes out of it. I followed a simple principle. I told everyone that I am a simple administrator. I am not the Chief Justice of India. I don't even understand law. What I do understand is if I learn of such a case through word of mouth, and I encourage people to come and speak to me in my ears and my officers, I give myself 4 hours to determine if the complaint is genuine, informally. And if it is genuine, because sometimes there may be a false complaint as well, then I give myself 4 more hours, drawing upon the powers given by the government of India, where you can sack somebody provided no inquiry is possible. The officer concerned would write that no inquiry is possible because this organization doesn't want the woman employee to live through that horror once again of any inquiry or anything. Show the door, kick him out the same day. We were able to sack 4 such people. That encouraged these about 17-18%, not a very good ratio, but still these employees to come, that we have been employed as technicians and fitters, but we are used as helpers. So I said, what can I do for you? Make gangs. So we segregated them. It's not segregation, empowerment. In various jobs like computer related, desk jobs, assembly jobs, plumbing jobs, seat making, berth making. What gives me immense pleasure is to show it to you, where 29 Chennai women, aged 23 to 57, came forward and said, we will do all the heavy fabrication work, welding and fitting, lifting, and we will make a coach entirely on our own, supervised by lady supervisor and officer. It's not something you'll easily see anywhere in the world, not only in India. And that's why I carry this image. And the pride they had in their work can be seen in this photograph as it was splashed all over the media, as a group of Chennai women making an entire railway coach totally on their own. And in the last 5 minutes, the story, a train set is nothing but a set of coaches. There's no locomotive, all coupled together. A lot of equipment packed under the board. You can pack so much equipment that it becomes more energy efficient, better acceleration. You can go from one cab to another, crossing the vestibules, replaced by sealed gangways. You won't even realize you crossed a coach because it's not a rickety vestibule anymore. 25-30 years, that's the trend in this speed range to make, but why India didn't have it? And it's not very complementary to railways. There is these departmental struggles, as it's neither a coach nor a locomotive. Who's going to, iska mai baap kaun hoga? Then there is the import lobby and so on. But as the general manager of Integral Coach Factory, I did not have that luxury anymore, because it's all right to have a lot of concerns all around you, because in India things don't work, that's true. But in that process, we forget that small circle of influence that we have. As the Chinese saying goes that, what's the use of cursing darkness? You should light your own candle. And this was the time for me to light my own torch instead of cursing so many things which can easily be cursed off. And the childhood dream to the dream I always carried in my service life, this was the time for me to realize it as heading the, I should say, the largest factory in the world. And for youngsters, if there are any here, we are told that we should live our dreams. I say you should not live your dream. You should first look after your bread and butter, but wait for the opportunity. Let it linger. Let it not be extinguished. An opportunity will come to you to realize your dream. And that's what was the time for me. I thought I had the vision, the fortune, because a great set of staff and officers with ennui written over their face doing more of the same, with chutzpah and audacity to do something new was bequeathed to me, not my doing. The great opportunity of heading this factory, and there was many doubts. One of the doubts which is nowadays talked about for the authenticity of what I say, and that is not going anywhere in the railway board because of various negativity, cynicism, skepticism, and so on. For 4 or 5 months not getting the sanction, I went to the chairman, lied to him that I'll turn out this train before you retire. Mr. A.K. Mittal, God bless his soul, he's no more. He said, this is April 17 and July 18, I'll turn out the train. You will come and inaugurate it. Import whatever you want, give me a sanction of just 2 trains. I'll build it at 1/3 the cost at which you will import. Half truths actually. And then I keep saying I fell at his feet because he was wavering but not really decisive. And therein lies the story of pride and vanity. You see, pride enhances. Pride makes you feel good and you look at everyone with happiness. Vanity diminishes because you belittle others. You think more of yourself and less of others. By grabbing his feet, I was enhancing my pride. Because I knew it will work, I'll come back to my people with the sanction. And by grabbing his feet, I was only killing my vanity, which somebody will definitely kill someday. Why not kill it yourself today? I come with the sanction, and then there is this doubt. 200 crores for 2 trains. For the first time, ab initio. Earlier, all designs have been tinkered with over imported design. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, who's the scapegoat? I said, that's easy. I'm retiring in December of 18. If it doesn't work, then I can be the best scapegoat. What can they do to a retired person? Of course, I was wrong. They did try something. But if it succeeds, then you would have given to the country what it has been waiting for decades, and you will bask in that glory for the rest of your life. That worked. Obviously, it would be our child. IPR would rest with ICF, good or bad. It will be totally designed in the country. It will not be world class, but it will be our baby. From then on, it would only improve. It's not as if you import something and then go down after importing. There'll be failures, but these failures, are always stepping stone to successes. Whenever you introduce somebody like I was introduced today, you only talk about the successes. Nobody talks of the 1,000 failures that I had or somebody else had. More learnings more learnings can be had from the failures one had. And I always say that instead of the successes, the failures should be talked about more because they, buried in them, are greater learnings. That excited them. There was one doubt. One was, and I'll finish now in 3, 4, 5 lines, is industry had really come up unlike railways themselves in last 15, 20 years. And that was the bedrock on which we were going to design this train. Still, we made a matrix. If there are 150 things that you need to build a train, there were 3, 4 areas where we were just about not there. In spite of excelling ourselves, we would not be there. And that's where it is important to be a witty fool than a foolish wit and accept what you don't know Don't go to a company, go to a consultant, design consultant. Having worked in Germany, I knew there are who would provide you good designs. They have no stake in future supplies. We gave 3 such contracts for the 3 areas that you see here. And then there was one more doubt that a project of this magnitude, starting from ideation to concept, to design, to engineer, to manufacture, to prove out, validation takes 36 to 42 months. And you will see as tenders have been done how much time it takes. And we had, my team said, you will be retiring in December 18, and if the train is not completed by then, or rather it would not be completed, only design would have been done. The new leader may as well say, why are you doing this? Do more of the same. Who told you to make this train? Why are you purchasing trouble? Where would we be? I said, yes, you have a point there. And your hard work cannot go down the drain. So we have only one solution. So our minds may not be there as the Europeans or the Japanese, but we are still Indians. We can burn our midnight oil, and we will really work hard to everyone else's time, industry's time, consultants' time, and so on, right from the morning 7, 8 a.m. to night 9, 10 p.m. And we will do what has never been done earlier, and that is turn out this train before I retire. We have 21 months for that. And to remind everyone that it's going out in the calendar year 18, we will give it a name, and we called it Train 18. After that, it's a story of only hitches and glitches and daily solution, synergies, and that confidence to surmount whatever came your way, which I no point going through the details. Basically, I present to you one picture of, for example, doing meeting with all the industry stalwarts and others and so on, not in any air-conditioned room, but right where the train was being built. Fortune favors the brave, and it was finally in October 18, living up to its name once again. The train was launched in October of 2018. To a ceremony unprecedented, as all the families of ICF were allowed to come in. And unprecedented scenes were seen because all the ICF families, all the ICFians, they had turned out 60,000 coaches. But this was the first time they could look at the train as a baby of their own, made by Indians for Indians. After that, it was tested online at 180 kilometers per hour plus, came out in flying colors, was launched by the Prime Minister himself as the Vande Bharat Express between Varanasi and New Delhi. There was a lull for 3 years, but now it has picked up speed. As I speak to you, the 14th train shall soon be inaugurated between Ajmer and Delhi. There has been only one case of loss of punctuality in September last year, which makes it 6 Sigma plus. It was just a train. It was not Chandrayaan or Mangalyaan. And we never bargained for, if I can say, for such appreciation and such coverage, especially for me as a leader, because we knew we were making and doing a good job. We were proud of it, but it was after all a train. The only answer I have is what has been captured by the Prime Minister himself. And he speaks about it from the Red Fort, apart from other podiums, and he says that the train captures the symbol of aspirational and resurgent India. And ladies and gentlemen, it's the 200th time, perhaps, that I am reliving this story. As my uncle has said, things one are done, but joyous soul is always in the doing. But I do get these opportunities to relive that joy again. And I close by saying that 1,000, 1,000,000 such projects are possible in this country. All it needs basically is leadership with empathy, passion, and a sense of purpose. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Due to paucity of time, we have to go on with the next program, I request Balaji to propose the vote of thanks. Sorry, sir, we don't have time for Q&A.
I won't even attempt to summarize it, but Mr. Ranganathan, thank you for your opening comments and setting the stage. I think Mr. Sudhanshu Mani has given us so many nuggets of, should I say, learnings that I think it has been an absolute delight and pleasure. What he said and the way he communicated, as CK rightly said, will make this remain etched in our memories for a very long time. I think the statistics that have been spoken about by Mr. Ranganathan and also Mr. Mani is, of course, testimony of the outcome. But frankly, the things that he spoke about, the things that I at least take back with me, pride and ownership, about getting into the heart of technology transfer, not just the mind of it. I think that's a very interesting concept, actually. About the passion, about not just loving your work, but loving your organization, loving your people unconditionally. I think that's a fabulous thing. To actually start to think about saying, if it's about creating history, then you need to basically not necessarily take lessons from legacy, but also actually demolish legacy in order to create value. In the thing that you talked about, the 165 plaques that were removed. And to win the heart of people with authenticity and also to kind of make sure that you're willing to walk the talk. I think those are things that are universal in many, many organizations or whatever we lead and whichever way we lead, right? So, and of course, he talked about trust and women empowerment, very close to all our hearts and something that we can live. I think I'll just leave in about 30 seconds one broader message from all of us. If you look at it, those who are here today, AIMA for the country, is to say there's a lesson to be learned from what Atmanirbhar Bharat can be, where you kind of go way beyond, just make in India to basically say, can we engage with the world to create standards that are absolutely for us as a nation? And then start to work saying, if we have defined the standards, then we'll actually make sure that we move from there to define the supply chain and to also manufacture, not just for India, but manufacture for the world. And that's the opportunity that we have with the young people that we have. And we have a very good session coming up immediately after the entrepreneurs of the world, of India, the youth of India, that all of these things from standards to supply chain to actually production, not just for India, but for the world, is a reality that we can actually look up to. And with that, I once again thank you, Mr. Mani.
Can I take 30 seconds?
Of course you must.
So in all the negativity that followed, then I was blogging about it all the time and generally wondering why, as the leader, I was getting so much of coverage and so on. But I was conscious all the time that it was a great teamwork and a wonderful team that helped me get all this coverage. And largely all of them, except some interviews, were generally unknown and unsung. Most of them are still in service. And I thought it was my duty to call them out by name, each one of them, as far as possible. And that's when I converted these blogs into a book. It's called the My Train 18 Story. It's available on Amazon. I have no particular commercial interest in it. And it is my pleasure to present one copy to Ms. Sethi here. Is she here?
We're waiting for Rekha to come and pick this up. I think I can definitely say this reminds me of that old Frank Sinatra song, right? I did it my way. So I think that's really what this is. And if each one of us can live that I did it my way kind of a moment, we would have done a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah, please. Thank you.